there is a cult of people in the Linux world who absolutely adore ThinkPads, most notably the older ThinkPads, the ones which are very modular and can very easily be repaired, have support for core boot, are very well understood devices, and very, very well documented. If there's something you want to do with a ThinkPad, somebody's probably done it, they've probably written down how to do it, and if they haven't, somebody can probably work it out pretty easily if it's something that can actually be done. These are devices where if you can find a good deal on them, which is getting harder and harder with them being older and with them being pretty sought after devices, this is a great device that you can just hack around with and do whatever you want. Now, a lot of people, when they talk about ThinkPads, will complain about Lenovo, especially with the newer devices. But almost all of the devices that people actually talk about are from very shortly after Lenovo bought the brand from IBM in 2005. That era from about 2005 up until around 2012, 2013 are the really sought after devices. Before that point, though, the ThinkPad name already had massive recognition outside the Linux world in the business world. So there are still tons and tons of devices out there, but if you want to find something that is already core booted, that's going to raise up the price. If you also want to find something that has been refurbished, well, expect to pay a little bit more. Now, here's the thing. If I say ThinkPad, whether it's a modern X1 Carbon, a P-series device like a P14S, a popular ThinkPad in the Linux world like an X220 or a T500, or going all the way back to 1992 with the very first line of ThinkPads, let's say the ThinkPad 700, part of that first lineup, what is the very first thing you think of? What is the thing that defines the ThinkPad brand? What makes the device immediately recognizable as a ThinkPad? You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. It's the TrackPoint, it's the nub, it's the nipple, it's the clit mouse. Be sure to refer to XKCD243 for how to refer to it in various different contexts. Maybe if you're in a business meeting, calling it the clit mouse is not the best of ideas. But if you're in my comment section, please do so. It's very funny. I like the name. Now, maybe if you're a bit more space inclined, you thought of this. IBM ThinkPads in space, where very specific ThinkPads like the 755C, 760XD, and 770 were certified for use in programs like the ISS and various other space programs. This is not the ThinkPad as a general brand, that would be really cool, but these specific models. Either way, this is a really cool piece of history. But that's not the main point. The main point is the TrackPoint. Now, ThinkPads are not the only laptops, especially in history, but even today, that have a TrackPoint. But if I ask you to think of a laptop that has a TrackPoint, every single person is going to think of a ThinkPad. But, well, maybe it's time to reevaluate the way that you think of the ThinkPad. Lenovo has removed its iconic TrackPoint nub from new ThinkPad laptops. Now, laptops is technically correct. However, it's a little bit more extreme sounding than what is actually happening. Now, as you can tell from the date, this didn't just happen yesterday. This was announced back at CES, and various outlets did cover it, like Yahoo, like PC World. There's also an Engadget article as well. The problem is, nobody reads these sites anymore, so nobody even realized what was happening until it got shared on places like Hacker News, Reddit, and a few other forums that people actually read. Now, yes, it is funny to say the TrackPoint is dead. However, that's not entirely true. Thankfully, it will still appear on other ThinkPads made by Lenovo, said a company spokesman. the 14 and 15-inch ThinkPad X9 Aura editions launched at CES 2025 in Las Vegas do not have a TrackPoint. This is one of those devices. I don't know if that's the 14 or the 15-inch. It's hard to tell from this without any reference point. It looks weird. Seeing that logo and not seeing a TrackPoint here looks really, really strange to me. And the reason this is a big deal is because the ThinkPad brand and the TrackPoint are so merged together that I don't believe there has ever been a ThinkPad that does not have a TrackPoint. This is the first ThinkPad labeled device. There have been like adjacent brand names like the ThinkPad, but specifically ThinkPad device that does not have the TrackPoint. Now, before anyone says, well, what about the ThinkPad X1 Fold? Technically, you are correct. They want to call this a foldable PC, a foldable laptop. It's a tablet. This is just a Windows tablet. Call it a PC if you want to, but it's a Windows tablet, whatever you want to do with it. So this does have an attachable keyboard, and there is a version of the keyboard that does not have a TrackPoint. So technically, yes, but I think most people just forget the device exists. Now, if you wanted a ThinkPad-like device that didn't have a TrackPoint, the ThinkBooks is what you were looking at. They're mostly the same device, just a slightly lower tier, and of course, do not have the TrackPoint, which for some people might be an advantage, but I know there are a lot of people out there that really, really like the TrackPoint. The idea is that certain laptops, let's say the Dell XPS, have managed to transcend the consumer, prosumer, and small business markets, and the TrackPoint is a legacy design according to Lenovo. That doesn't resonate with all demographics, so to speak, said the company's spokesman. That was cutting-edge technology at one time, but clearly, it's a touchpad world. Now, in relatively recent history, Lenovo has defended the TrackPoint. In a 2017 Tech Radar interview, Lenovo's chief design officer David Hill described the TrackPoint as a way for a user to access a pointing device without the need for the user's hands to leave the keyboard's home row. And if you go to forums, YouTube videos, or places like Reddit, you'll find use cases like this one. People who are asking Lenovo to remove the TrackPoint haven't done any real work in the field with gloves on. But he also foreshadowed Lenovo's choice to remove the TrackPoint too. It's a little bit like an automatic transmission versus a stick shift. If you know how to drive a stick, you don't want an automatic transmission, Hill said back then in the interview. If you don't drive a stick shift, you're not going to buy a car that's got one. This is a bit of a terrible metaphor. I'm not going to get into car stuff though. We're not going to talk about why an automatic transmission, especially on high-end cars, is just better now. So with this change, with a proper ThinkPad device, not having a TrackPoint, not whatever this weird thing is, this is not killing the TrackPoint just yet. But what it is doing is further diluting what it means for a device to be a ThinkPad. A really good example of this is the removal, re-addition, and then especially in this device, removal again of the TrackPoint buttons. Those being the buttons that would sit directly above the trackpad that you could actually click while you're using the TrackPoint, so you can actually use it, like a mouse. And if you go back to the earliest of early ThinkPads, they didn't have a trackpad. The way you interacted with them, if you didn't have a mouse that you could plug in, was using the TrackPoint, was using the TrackPoint buttons. Now, people are certainly going to make quite a bit of noise about this, but I don't know whether or not it's actually going to affect that many people, and it's actually going to affect sales. Do people actually care about this? Yes, people think of ThinkPad and they think of the TrackPoint, but how many people actually rely on it that a device that doesn't have it with the ThinkPad name isn't going to sell well? That is the real question. And here's the thing, if they do sell well, Well, get ready for the ThinkPad brand to be even further diluted, where you're going to have, those old ThinkPads which are super modular, super repairable. You have the newer ThinkPads which are less repairable, but at least are still ThinkPads. They have the TrackPoint buttons, they have the TrackPoint. And then newer ThinkPads where, some might have a TrackPoint, some might not. They're all still ThinkPads. Why are they ThinkPads? I don't know. Couldn't you maybe make a higher end ThinkBook and call it that instead? Wouldn't that make sense? Apparently not. Even though I've never been much of a ThinkPad enjoyer, seeing that ThinkPad logo next to a keyboard that doesn't actually have a nipple, it just feels weird. It just feels naked. It feels like something is wrong with it. But what do you think? Are you a ThinkPad enjoyer? Do you like ThinkPads? Do you have a ThinkPad right now? Maybe an old ThinkPad, maybe a modern ThinkPad. I would love to know. So, if you liked the video, go like the video. And if you really liked the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe to the Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and think more. Pad book. We're going to stop there.